With over 15 large Venom statues in my collection, this was one of my most anticipated pieces, and it's one of my biggest disappointments. Welcome to the Extreme channel, where we are about extreme collectibles on most days. Today is kind of one of those days. I say kind of because if you've been with the channel for a while, you know that I praise pieces quite often. Sometimes maybe I give them a little more justice than they should. That is not going to happen today. Well, it might happen when we look at the bell. But today we are reviewing this custom 1/4, I think it's bigger than that.
That's what she said.
Venom statue. Custom means it was a private commission. They only made 45 of these. This is actually number 1 of 45. I think I purchased this piece about 18 months ago. The way it works with customs is they will show a digital sculpt or a render. And then you purchase it based off of that and you wait for the production to be done. Production for him was done, I think, in about a year or so, maybe a little bit less. And then they had some huge shipping problems because look, he's monstrous. Take a look at the box right here. Huge box. And shipping prices were going to be damn near the same cost of the statue. The statue cost $800 and shipping prices were going to be that much. So they came up with a much more affordable shipping option at about half that price, but unfortunately it took damn near 6 months to get here, it seems like. So as this happened, my anticipation for this piece grew and grew because I love Venom Lethal Protector. That was kind of the Venom that I grew up with, the Venom that I knew, and this statue kind of encompass that for me, at least based off of the digital renders and pictures, and even some of the in-progress photos from the factory. And during the in-depth review today, we're going to take a look at what these disappointments were and some cool stuff about the statue. But before we do, we're doing a giveaway. On our road to 20,000 subs, we are giving out this Mortal Kombat statue at 12,500 subs. All you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, and you've hit that bell notification, and stay tuned for that giveaway. And if you're not interested in that, just comment on this video. Once a month we do a drawing based off random comments, and those 2 people win a prize sent to their house. Alright, so let's look at this guy and see what's really going on, and we'll start out with concept. And concept is the reason I purchased this statue. As I said, I have tons of other Venom statues. You can actually check out a video right here where I go through the current ones I have and which ones are my favorite. I have about 4 more coming in over the next year, so we'll see how those stack up. Hopefully they can beat this guy, as it shouldn't be too hard. Now I love that the base has origins to the character. It's a destroyed bell tower, and if you recall, a bell sent some sonic waves to get the symbiote suit off of Spider-Man and then going on to Eddie Brock. And I love a bunch of the stuff that's going on in there. We do have some damages we're going to talk about. There's definitely some opportunity for paint and sculpt. And as you move up, Venom is in a very lunging position. He's very evil. His anatomy is very questionable, which we're going to talk about. But it's your classic Venom. It's a museum pose. He's ready to launch, so it's not really an action dynamic, but he's kind of standing there posing for a picture. He has a number of different portraits we're going to look at. And one other thing we're going to talk about in design, this guy is huge. He's supposed to be 1/4 scale or 4 times smaller than the real life version. And Venom is a somewhat bigger character, but this is closer to 1/3 scale, which we'll talk about. And depending which head you display him, it's all very vicious, very nasty with his arms outstretched like that. So concept-wise, it's a very boring Venom, but it encompasses what you want. If you were going to go with one Venom statue, this is kind of the concept that you want, so I really can't knock him for that. But I think overall, now that I'm looking at the concept in person, it's a V. It's very nice. It's 3 out of 5. Nothing awesome. Now we're going to jump into design, and first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure this guy because he is huge. So you're about 22 inches deep on the base. Looks like he's about 23 inches at the widest point. Members watch me unbox him and they know I'm not wearing pants, but if you're interested in memberships, go ahead and check out this video right here as he comes around to us. So his height is right under 26 inches. So what's interesting is he looks a lot bigger than 26 inches. He just does. I assumed he was much taller than that. I have Venom statues that are much taller than that. I think Prime 1 Studios Venom is even taller than that. Right now I'm throwing up the specs for that below. But the base takes up so much space. I think he's overscaled. Here is a picture of him next to Sideshow's Wolverine Premium Format. Now Wolverine's a very small guy. He's 5'3", I believe, or 5'1". So, you know, Eddie Brock is 6'6", right in that range, and with the suit, the creature on, he's a little bit bigger. but he looks like he is twice the size of Wolverine. And if you're doubting, hey, Mr. X, you chose the wrong character, here he is next to the Sideshow Premium Format Comiquette. And now this Sideshow is usually thought that it's a little overscaled. It's supposed to be 1/4, but you can see he still is way bigger than Spider-Man. Now in some comics that is true. Few things with the design. So piece-wise, one nice thing is other than his portrait, because there's four different portraits, it's all one piece, which is nice. Right here, where the bell goes, is kind of just this proximity piece you stick in there. So you can display it without that, but I don't get that. Give you guys a shot of that. This pillar is a separate piece, and then the wood plank sticking out of the front is a separate piece. It is incredibly light. As a whole, I want to say it probably weighs 35, 40 pounds, but you could literally throw Venom in the air, you could throw the pillars in the air and catch them. So they're resin or hollow or very a cheaper material, if you will, which as long as it looks good, I'm okay with that. But there are some questioning things with the way it looks. I did have a nasty damage. Check this out on the base. Looks like some of the paint got chipped off, and you can see the material underneath it, and it's right in the front, which sucks. Now let's look at the switch out portraits. So the first one is a transformation portrait. And I like that all the Venoms nowadays come with the transformation portrait. This one's kind of half and half. So one half of the head is the transformation portrait with Eddie Brock, and the other is the symbiote. Kind of a different take. I'm not a big fan of this. We'll look at it with paint and sculpt. We'll look at all these, including this next one. Very similar with the huge jaw and the tongue out, except he is fully transformed. No green saliva on his tongue. I'm not a fan of the green saliva anyway. And then here you have one with a much smaller jaw, very tiny teeth, more of a Wicked Venom. This might be more of a Del Auto. And again, we'll look at these with paint and sculpt. And then my favorite one, this is kind of more of a Bagley portrait, little extended, with the huge teeth and some saliva. You have some clear saliva, which looks really good, we'll talk about, and then the green saliva dripping down. Definitely the one I'm going to display with. And they did a nice job on the seam. Here's a picture of the seam. So this guy is actually going up at my office, and I'm going to display him with all the other Venoms, so I can't wait to see what he scales next to them. If you want to see that, I will post it on the Extreme Channel Facebook page. Make sure you check out the link in the description below, and you like and follow that page, and you can see all these after photos, and sometimes before. I even put it on the YouTube channel. So I think the negatives with design are the material it's made out of. You can already see some issues that chipped off. I think the negative is that it takes up way too much space. The base does. There's a lot of wasted area down here, so that's going to make him very hard to display. Another negative is I think he's just too big. There's some anatomy issues, which we'll talk more about in the sculpt. A positive is you do have 4 different switch outs that are very different. I like that. They cover the seam line quite well. And then other positives regarding the design, and I'm not trying to be a jerk. You guys know I don't like to bash statues because the group that's commissioning these, I'm a big fan of. I have their first 3 pieces. Here's their doppelganger. Very cool piece. And I had no issues with it. I love it. Here's their hobgoblin. Again, a piece that I love. There was a little bit of hate towards this one, which I never got. I have their demogoblin on order. And then a non-Spidey piece I have from them is this crow, which is one of my favorite pieces, honestly. I think everything about it's phenomenal. But on this, I think I have to give the design, at best, a V for very nice. I think there's it's a little bit cheaper material, which you're going to see in the paint and sculpt. And the displayability factor just honestly sucks. So for paint and sculpt, we're going to do pictures. We'll look at all the different portraits, and then we'll do a video at the end, so stay tuned for that. But let's go ahead and start. Right here on the base, you got a couple different things going on. First of all, let's look at the wood. The wood looks okay. Some of it doesn't look like real wood, and I don't know if that's the sculpt or the paint on it. There seems to be enough tones in the paint, so I'm guessing it's more sculpt related. So I don't know about the wood pieces here. They don't look bad at all. They don't look as bad as the concrete does. Now granted, there's not a lot of concrete showing, but where it's showing, it is not good, which blows me away because they had concrete on the other 3 pieces that I got. They had buildings on them or a grave on one, and it looked fantastic. That is not the case here. It looks like a mess, a blob. I don't know if it's the paint or the sculpt, but a big miss on that. And something else going on down here. You see some tendrils from the symbiote, and what's really strange is they're all over and they're not even connected to Venom. And I know this is more of a conceptual thing, but what the hell is that about? Really strange to me. I just don't get it. Take a look at this pole that's sticking out. The brick on it is orange. Not your traditional red or faded red. It's orange, like pumpkin orange, which I think that's a big miss. I don't know if they used the wrong color of paint or it faded or what's going on. I don't even know how it's appearing to you guys on the camera, but I don't like that. And again, some more missed opportunity with the concrete in between it, and then some symbiote that's not even connected to Venom kind of running all over. And the texture on the bricks is not good. The bell is the best part of the statue, so check this out. Very, very cool. I love the bronze and copper tones they used on this. I love the dents. I actually do like the size of the bell. I don't remember how big the bell was in the comics, but I like the fact it's a bigger bell that was, loud enough to pull the suit off. And there's some cracks in it and some wording. The bell is done really well, including the rope coming from the bell. This is sculpted. Now, as we move on to Venom, if my voice sounds funny, it's because I literally just threw up in my mouth, and no, it wasn't because of the statue, but the behind-the-scenes members saw a whole fantastic episode. Let's start with Venom's feet. Traditionally, with Venom's feet, you either have kind of a closed-toed costume like you do here, or an open one with toenails. I think I like the open one better, even though I think this is a little more comic accurate because the symbiote suit kind of covers him up like a boot. And as you move up, you're going to see a few different things going on with the costume. One is, I don't like the paint that they use. There's almost no gloss in it, which makes it very boring and flat. And there's not a lot going on. The skin on the symbiote suit in a lot of areas looks cracked. Looks like old skin. The symbiote suit never really looks like skin. It's kind of this shiny gloss material that's smooth other than seeing some veins. And you do see some veins, but the rest of it it doesn't look good. And the bad part with that is actually the anatomy is not good either. So Eddie Brock is a bodybuilder. He's very fit. You would think that would exemplify in this. This Venom looks like a fat guy who's strong. So he kind of looks like me, to be honest with you. You can see some of the love handles up on his sides, some of the thickness in his thighs, and it is not the greatest anatomy for Venom. I am not a fan of this. It's interesting they went in this direction. You do see throughout the suit those hints of blue, which I really do appreciate. I hate a Venom statue that's too blue or too black, and I think this one does have a nice balance other than the fact I don't like the matte black color. So here's some more shots just of the anatomy. I think it's a miss. Like I said, he doesn't look like a trim bodybuilder Venom. He looks like a guy who goes to the gym but also eats tons of donuts. That's probably the best description for him. Let's check out the Venom symbol. So a few different things going on here. It seems like you always have a few choices when it comes to the spider symbol, the Venom symbol on it. One is it indented or exdented or even with the skin? This one is what I call exdented, so it's raised up from the skin. I think any of those options are good. One interesting part on this too is the front symbol is actually connected to the back symbol, which you don't always see. And it's very, very large on both the front and the back, particularly more on the front because the back is much larger than the front, which is another anatomy issue. You also see a lot of the blue in here, which I like, and you'll see that on the other white parts, including the hand pads and the eyes. His arms look a little bit short compared to his legs, and they're very veiny.
That's what she said.
But I think they're definitely too short. And again, I think my same comment, he looks like a bodybuilder who eats too many donuts on that. Take a look at the pads on his hand that you traditionally see with Venom. These are extended as well, so these are raised off the skin. Quite a bit, actually. I don't mind that. One thing we always talk about with Venom is his nails. Some people make his nails white, some make them black, or this one, they're actually part of the costume. And I like the fact that it's different, but I think overall I like a paint and sculpt better when the nails are kind of a separate piece. Let's check out the portrait, starting with the transformation. So a few different things going on here. You're going to see this in all the eyes. So the eyes, like I said, that hint of blue is more around the outline of the eye. It's not in the middle at all. And the middle is not necessarily a white. It's kind of this weird reflective surface. On one of these portraits, I'm going to tell you what that eye reminds me of. But same thing going on with the symbiote skin. It's got kind of these cracks and texture in it that just isn't Venom to me. I do like how the tendrils are separating over his face. As far as his face, it looks okay. It's so large. His portrait is just so big. I'm not a big fan of this transformation portrait. Not necessarily because of the paint and sculpt on it, but just it isn't for me. They did a decent job on the Eddie Brock as far as the paint and the sculpt on him. The tongue is way too red for me. This is not the red type of tongue. You'd think there'd be a little bit more pink in it, a little bit more texture on it, the way it's folding over. I also don't like the green saliva. And in the green saliva, there's actually some other colors. It almost looks like orange. And the teeth are kind of crooked everywhere. And let's look at that portrait after he's transformed. So here the tongue has more different colors than that deep red, but it's kind of this almost like a cotton candy color. I'm not a fan of this either. His teeth, like I said, are kind of jutting everywhere. There's some weird texture on his teeth. Makes him very creaturesque. The way some of the teeth blend together, I don't think it's that clean of a print. Or maybe the paint just kind of blurred over. Kind of interesting what's going on. Not my favorite portrait at all. So this is the portrait I was alluding to about the eyes. This reminds me of Ghostface from Scream. And you have a lot of the same problems going on here with the skin texture. The teeth are all bunched together. It's really bad actually on this one. I think they're too small where they tried to paint it, so the paint just overlapped on all of them. Big miss. And then my favorite portrait has a lot of those same problems with the skin. The teeth paint's a little bit cleaner, but it's still pretty messy. And then his tongue is same colors that you kind of saw before, has kind of that cotton candy color on it. And one thing I do like is I like the clear saliva dripping from the fangs on the top. I'm surprised none of these broke in shipping. And then look at the green saliva dripping down. So this is a different saliva than the first portrait we looked at. I actually do like this better. And this really surprises me because the paint on the other pieces I thought was top notch. This is significantly less. I think the paint on this piece, at best, I have to say it's a U, a 2 out of 5. It's pretty ugly. And then we look at the sculpt, and I think, you want to get Venom right. There's some stuff in the base I can forgive, but you want to get Venom right, and he just doesn't look good. His body formation is not good. And then his arms being shorter, the kind of chub that you see on him, the issues with the portraits and the teeth. Some of that's a sculpt issue, some of that's a paint issue. I'm giving the sculpt a T. I think it's a 1 out of 5. I think it's a huge miss on the statue. I'm incredibly disappointed. A lot more than I thought I'd be. Maybe my anticipation was too high for this piece. Now keep in mind, this is a very large piece, so we'll talk about value. It's $800. If the shipping wasn't, another 450% of the statue, I would say that's a decent value for a piece this size. I mean, the bottom line is this looks more toyish than a beautiful piece of art. So you do get a little bit better piece, but there's some amazing 1/4 scale premium formats that you can get for $600, $700 shipped. So I think the value is pretty bad on him too. The only redeeming factor I think it has with the value is there's only 45 of these. It's just not for me. So I think the value is a 2 out of 5 as well. So where does that leave this statue? I think this statue is ugly. I think it's 2 out of 5. I'm so disappointed. This is one of the Venoms I was looking forward to the most. And I think there are so many misses on this piece. And even as I look at it more, I'm just seeing more and more misses. That's just my opinion, guys. You can agree or disagree, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Here's some close-up video for you. Really appreciate you guys watching today. Make sure if you want to see some more Venom or custom statue pieces to check out these playlists, or hit that Mr. X icon to make sure you've subscribed to the channel. Thanks so much. I will talk to you tomorrow. Take care.